Hey everybody, we are here today with the Roland V Stage, and we're with the 88 note version. This is a brand new stage product out from Roland, and it's their new flagship stage piano. My first impressions at NAMM were really super positive, but you know, it's just walking by, it's 5-10 minutes, you don't really have a chance to sink in and get a good impression of it. But over the last week and a half or so, I've had a chance to get this out on a gig. I've spent several hours with it at home, here in studio, and now I've got a really good sense of what this instrument is all about. I can say, without exaggeration, that this is the most intuitive, the most satisfying, the most musical kind of playing experience that I have ever had in any kind of a stage product. When it comes to being able to make really quick, intuitive moves on the fly, whether that be splits, whether that be changes to effects, there's absolutely no cognitive friction going on when you're in those situations and you have that thought, oh, I'd like to have this and I'd like to have that, and without really needing to go into all kinds of, you know, complex menus, this just makes it so easy. The very best instruments shouldn't get in the way of your creativity. They shouldn't get in the way of a really expressive moment. They should enhance it. Everything you feel like you want to be able to do with this is super easy. It's really well laid out, and within a couple of hours, I felt like I'd owned this for months. So our first stop is going to be on the left side of this machine, and this really brings Roland's VK engine into this combination stage product in a way that none of their other stage products out there do. Unless you're gonna haul, you know, a VK unit along with you, VK7, VK8, whatever, this is essentially the next best thing you could possibly get. And there's an argument to be made that the fidelity of the tone coming out of here might even be better than those VK units. First of all, we've got, like all of the modules, you've got a basic on-off and a level. So you can independently mix the volume of any one of these modules and easily turn it on or off. What I really like about how they've done this is you can, without having it on, you can still essentially be manipulating everything here in front of you as you're maybe setting something up and getting ready to switch over. So let's say that you're playing something on the piano, you know, right now. And you're doing all of that, but in the meantime, you're getting ready to do something with the organ. And so you can be playing with the drawbars, you can be changing your overdrive, you can be setting, you know, your Leslie speaker, whether you want it to be spun up or slow, everything. And then when you're actually ready to go, you turn it on, and now, you know, you're ready to go with the organ. Now you've got some other things that you're going to notice are present with all of the other modules, and you can see that it's sort of in this lighter gray strip on all of them, and that for the most part they're identical between all of these different sections. So you've got the level, you've got your on-off. Now you can control whether you want this to just be occupying the left, the right, or both parts of the entire keyboard, and so you can easily just, you know, turn that. I'll just do this so it's a little brighter. So that's only going to give you organ on the left half. And you've got octave shift. Very easy to use and dial in. Or the right side, that's going to be nothing over here. Or if you want it back to full, then it's just press both at the same time and you're easily back to your entire keyboard. This is sort of a quick reset if you want to reset that to sort of a default setting for your upper, lower, and your pedal. Then we get into the tone select. So if you're over here, and we're going to be taking a look at, say, tone wheel on the screen, generally this works this way for the whole machine. You've got a category down the left, then you've got a subcategory in the middle, and then you've got the actual pitch over on the right. In some cases, it might just be your category in the middle and the actual patch on the right, but in this case, we've got the 4 categories. So to scroll through there, you're just basically going left and right here, and that's selecting between all of the different emulator styles. Then if we want to get into the different types, and so essentially these are all going to be presets that you can use that's a mix of all of the different effects, all of the different drawbar settings for your tone wheel. So if we want to get into your vintage, anyway, you get the idea. So basically you've got a whole set of presets here. Now when you find one that you're really loving, you notice that one has that star there, and that's basically your favorite. The easy way to do this is when you've got one that you want to favorite, you're just going to hold shift and press that, and you'll notice that now we've got an extra little star. Now those then become accessible right away in your favorites. Now, it's not just within this menu that your favorites become quite usable. If you're now going to essentially go and just use the tone select knob right here, that's actually going to select between all of your favorites. And if there's no favorites in any of the category, it just picks the first one that's there. But you'll notice that those 2A and 2D happen to be the favorites that we had selected there. So that's how you are navigating through all of the different organs. Also on here, you've got your overdrive engine. You can select between 3 different overdrive types. You've got your VK emulator, which is kind of obviously what Roland's brought over from their VK series. They've got a guitar amp style and then a saturator. So you can turn that on and off with the on-off button, hold shift, and that's how you can easily jump between those 3. And then you've got your overdrive level. You've also got your vibrato and your chorus type. Obviously, you wouldn't be using that usually with a pipe organ, but same deal, on, off, and then shift is gonna, oh, sorry, in this case, you can actually just do that. So you can pick between all of your vibratos and choruses. You've got your percussion control, and then also what's really great here is you can have 3 simultaneous organ parts queued up. So if you want to be setting your upper part and only have an upper part, then that's basically going to just give you a single part. But you can see how this says organ split here. So if you're holding shift, those are just blinking. And if I want a pedal, then I can just hit that. So now it's automatically split this, and I've got a pedal now in the lower part. And I'm actually going to go back to tone wheel, so this sounds a little more normal. Yeah, and so I can see the pedal is. And if you wanted to bring that up an octave, you certainly can. And so that's where the split point is if it's just pedal and upper. But you can also get in a third part, again by pressing shift. We're going to activate that, and now we've got something down at the bottom. And then we've got something in the middle here. And we can knock that up an octave, which is again different from here. And then you've still got the pedal down here. And if you want to see those split points, you just press split point and you can see exactly how it's been split up and pretty quickly dial that in and make the changes that you want between those 3 parts. Now, you can dig even deeper for people who really want to fine-tune every aspect of this, and this is where the power of this is just so incredible. Easiest way to access any of these like extra under the hood stuff is by pressing menu, and now you're going to really press on almost any aspect of this. It takes you straight to that editable section of the menu without having to, go in through the traditional menu. So if we go, say, menu, I want to, edit the Leslie speaker, for example. So menu, and right away we're at the editable part of the rotary engine. So we can see that the brake is off, speed fast, but this is where you can start diving into things like mic distance, amp distortion, woofer speeds, the slow and the tweeter slow, woofer fast, all of the acceleration and deceleration, even the mic angle, which gets like really insane. So even within the tone wheel, you've got some really cool editable things such as the leakage level to kind of give it that extra vintage sound. Some people like that, some people don't. Versus super clean. And then like every module on here, you've got a completely separate reverb as well as a separate EQ for each part. And so that's also quite easy to access. If we're gonna hold shift to quickly get through there, there's your levels, but there is the part EQ. So regardless of how detailed or not detailed you want to get with this organ sim, which is kind of the same right across the board, you've got these different layers or certainly different levels of sophistication that you can attack this with. And so no matter how deeply you want to dig, this thing just kind of keeps giving and giving. Let's now move on to the acoustic piano side of things. So first of all, let's take a look at the tones and the type of categories that they've got available to us. So this is split into grand and upright. And then with the grands, you've got two grand categories. And a lot of these are basically V-piano patches, similar to what you're able to grab off of the RD2000 series. But my favorite is probably the V Stage piano, which I think is brand new for this instrument. So just like on the organ, if we want to make that a favorite, shift, hold, and now that's a favorite. The upright selection is quite extensive, which is a lot of fun. I love the fact that uprights are getting their time in the sun here. Lots and lots of stuff to pick from. And then, as has been the trend over the last few years, the felted version of this. And then just like on the organ, you can dive in. They've got Piano Designer as a dedicated button here, but it really just takes you to the same place that we were looking at on the organ, but the piano equivalent. So now you've got access to a lot of these parameters that we're used to on high-end digital pianos, like the ability to change how open or closed the lid is, string resonance, damper resonance, hammer noise, duplex scale, so on and so forth. I won't go through every single parameter. You've got the ability to do individual note tuning. Then you've got, again, character on a note-by-note basis, kind of darkening or lightening something. Individual part EQ, just as we had on the organ. And then all your MIDI filters and the ability to route this. And you've got the ability to quickly adjust your key touch. Moving on now to the E-piano. This is maybe one of the most interesting sides of things, because I've always wanted the option and get in there and tinker with your E-piano, at least with the Roland. And now we've got it. So first of all, let's just get a nice standard 174 tine EP. And you've got tine, reed, digital, and clavinet that are all part of this. And so you've got the option to age it sort of like with a detune. Sound lift is a bit like a type of compression that they can put on there. Then you've got a multi-effects dedicated to the e-piano, and that's where we can choose from all of these different types, chorus, phaser, wah delay, and so we can go here and you can see that we're kind of selecting between all of these. You've also got an amp simulator, again with like really an intense amount of editability here. So just like in other cases, if you press menu and then you're going to sort of basically press on any parameter, usually is going to take you straight into where you can edit that with quite a bit of detail. We've also got the tremolo setting here. And then the rate control. If we go back to the piano designer, just so we can see the kind of things that we can edit here, then we've got the ability to sort of increase or decrease the amount of bell tone you're hearing there. We've got the key off resonance, mechanical noise, key on, key off, damper noise, hum noise, lots of cool stuff there to play with. Because we've got 3 effects engines happening on here, we can change the order of what routes into what, just to really fine-tune that tone that we're getting. Then moving over to the synth, where we've got 2 Zencore-driven synth voices here. So you can select between A and B, and then turn A on or turn B on. You can link them so that some of these controls, like the on-off or the octave up-down, are linked, so you can take your shift, boot, and now you can turn both of those on simultaneously, or split left and right simultaneously, or if you want the independent control, then you're just back to A or B. So let's hear what we've got on A here. And so we've got tone select just like we do in all of the other cases, and the category selection here is quite large. Tons and tons of options here. You've got envelope control, and then you've got a nice simple filter. And then you've got an assignable multi-effects, which you can assign to both part A and part B. Everything from auto wahs, overdrives, distortions, limiters, tap delays. Well, you can see everything that we're going through there. And then we've got the total effects engines, and these are by scene. And so that's how this whole machine is operating, similar to what Phantom does, is this entire thing is working off scenes. So we've got our reverbs, which are generally speaking going to apply to the whole kit and caboodle. Then we've got our delay engine, and then another multi-effects engine, which we can apply to the entire machine, or we can route that to just a single machine as well. But here's the next layer of stuff that I love about this machine. Being able to manage your splits in real time so quickly while you're literally in the middle of a gig. I've never had something that could do that as easily and intuitively as this. Even though you don't have a module on, you can still see what the settings are. So you can be presetting this without having to do that on a screen and switching back and forth, and understand what you're about to turn on. So let's say that we are playing on electric piano, just standard full. And let's say that now in the middle of that, we're like, okay, well, we actually want to keep going with the Rhodes, but we want to have an organ be able to start soloing here, and I want to be comping with my left hand on Rhodes. So we know we're going to go over to the organ. We're going to just press right, so we know it's going to be up here when we turn it on. And we're probably going to want to have our electric piano up by an octave. So now there's nothing up here. And probably an octave down. So I hope I'm demonstrating just how easily and fluidly you can split these up. So that's definitely one thing that's great. Second thing is, anybody who's ever tried to build scenes and presets, you're always feeling like you're looking at a very cluttered screen with tons of information. I love the fact that when you're in a scene, the default screen is really just like the name of the scene and then just quite simply the 5 patches that are selected, whether they're on or off. Now, you'll notice that this says, I hope this is coming through in the camera, that you can see that says EX scene. When you are in this sort of separate little set of scenes, you've got 8 of them. Anytime you're in that, it is constantly real-time saving. Now, you've only got 8, but generally if you are building a patch at all, your default here should always be to be in one of these. And once you get the scene to the point where you want to save it, now you can write it to one of the, I think it's like 512 slots that you've got on here. Super easy. And the scene is going to capture every single setting within every single module here, including the effects. The only thing that won't be is your master effects, because that's kind of at a system level. So that's number 2, is that EX scene thing. Killer feature. Number 3, for anybody who's going to use this as a tone source for recording, this is going to put out discrete audio from every one of these modules, plus the main mixdown, the sub, and then the 5. So I think it's going to output 7 or 8 separate audio channels. Tons of reasons why having that all separate rather than being a single stream of audio out is a really big benefit. And that is something that is not particularly common. And then just like on the RD2000, really nice that you've got XLRs out and a ton of assignable controls. We didn't even touch on this yet, is the fact that they've got a mic in. Now this is not going to handle phantom, but it is a full XLR in, and that is also going to be discrete audio out through your USB audio. So let's wrap this up. Roland V Stage piano, what to love? Insane level of control over every one of these modules. And possibly the best feature, at least for me, is the fact that you can use this EX scene to never, ever, ever have to lose anything you're doing. Even with an unexpected power off, that EX scene is going to capture everything that you've been working on, and when you're ready, you dump it into one of the memory slots. So like the name says, if you're going to be on stage, then the V Stage might just be the most insanely satisfying instrument you've ever laid your hands on. Thanks so much for checking out my review today of the Roland V Stage. Hope you've enjoyed it. My name is Stu Harrison. This has been Merriam Pianos on YouTube. Please let us know what you thought of the video, and if you have any questions about the instrument, you know, fire us a comment down there. We'll do our very best to get to as many of them as possible. Thank you so much. Please consider subscribing, and we'll see you again soon.